Over the years, you've heard me ask wealth manager Warren Ingram the big questions. How do we invest wisely? How do we protect our family's future? All those conversations, that entire library of financial expertise is now available as a podcast. Straightforward advice to help you build your wealth on demand. Just search for Warren Ingram's Personal Finance wherever you get your podcasts.
Burning questions.
Insightful answers.
Listener's Choice.
With Clement Manyathela.
So, Listener's Choice is a feature that we do every single Wednesday after the news at 11 o'clock. And it's an opportunity for you to tell us what you want us to discuss on the show. Maybe something that happened, something you picked up over the weekend, something we spoke about before on the show, but not extensively, and you want us to go back to it, or you want us to talk about a subject matter we've never touched on. You can just send us an email on cm@702.co.za. That's cm@702.co.za. And that is where you can tell us what topic you want us to discuss, and we'll bring in the relevant experts to talk about it. Today, we're talking about the child porn case against Meta. One of our listeners has asked that we just delve deeper into this. And if you maybe haven't picked this up, the digital law company, right, which is led by legal expert Emma Sadlier, has secured a major victory in the battle to protect South African children from digital exploitation. So after a 2-week legal fight, the Gauteng High Court granted a consent order compelling Meta, which is a parent company of Instagram and WhatsApp, to take action against child pornography on its platforms. So Meta has now committed to removing harmful content involving children, disclosing the identities of offenders, and working closely with the digital law company for the next 2 years via a fast-track hotline. And I think this is a groundbreaking case because it marks, if I'm not mistaken, the first time that a global tech giant has legally agreed to such terms in South Africa. So South African parents with preteen or teenage children can breathe a sigh of relief thanks to this court decision that may protect their children from pornography. Do you know what your children do on their phones? And how do you protect them from pornographic material? Because what we are seeing children getting involved in, even when it's shaming other children, it's really, really concerning. Emma Sadlier is the founder of the digital law company, joining us on the line. Emma, thank you for making time for us. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement, and thank you so much for talking about this.
I mean, it's a groundbreaking case. Let's start from the beginning. What sparked this particular case against Meta? What happened?
Well, it really is a groundbreaking case, and as much as this particular case was sparked by direct messages I received a week prior to us getting the court order, it's actually a court order that is 10 years in the making, because this is an issue that I've been dealing with for a long time, and that is, how do we get these big tech giants to A, be accountable in South African law, and B, how do we protect children, and particularly child victims of online harms, if we have no idea who's perpetrating those harms? So how this case started was that Friday, 10 days ago, I was sitting at my desk and I started receiving direct messages from children who were contacting me in absolute desperation to say that they had been named and shamed and sometimes even leaked their private pictures and videos on various Instagram accounts and WhatsApp channels. And that was when I started jumping around trying to get to the bottom of this issue and started trying to report those accounts and to deal with anyone and everyone I knew at Meta to try and help these children.
So basically, there are groups, WhatsApp groups, where there are children that get added there, and then sometimes there's pornographic material that is posted there that may sometimes involve teenagers or young people in schools. And then is there someone who's sitting somewhere and posting this kind of material, or members of that WhatsApp group have also the authority to post?
Yeah, so let me just explain to you the big issue, and that is that we're not dealing with a WhatsApp group. So, Clement, you and I know about the WhatsApp chats that we're on, the WhatsApp groups, which can be an absolute pain, to be honest, and an absolute nightmare in terms of how much content is circulated. But to be honest with you, the WhatsApp groups are not my concern. WhatsApp groups are limited to 1,024 participants, and there is identifying information. So you know who the admin of the WhatsApp group is, you know who the other members of the group are, the content of the chat is encrypted. It's a much safer part of WhatsApp than the part of WhatsApp that we've been dealing with. Now, the part of WhatsApp that this case turns on is the part that is called a WhatsApp channel. So if you open up your WhatsApp now, Clement, you go to the bottom left, it says updates. Now that's the little tab that you'll press to see all of your friends' status updates, their stories, that kind of thing. Now just below that, there's a section that says channels. Now you can press the explore button and you can search anything on that platform. You can search anything you might be interested in. You can follow the Real Madrid WhatsApp channel, for example, if you're a Real Madrid fan. Indeed, 35 million people are participants of that WhatsApp channel. There's no limit. So whereas a WhatsApp group is limited to 1,024 people and is encrypted and there's identifying information, a WhatsApp channel has no size limit. So we see content being circulated, disseminated to millions of people at the press of a button, and there's zero identifying information. So if you open up any of those WhatsApp channels that are suggested to you, you'll see you can only see three things. First, the name of the WhatsApp channel. Second, the timestamp, the date stamp of when it was created. And third is how many people are following that channel. So on that day, when I started getting these DMs, things called shade room accounts. And for the first week of doing any media about this case, I didn't mention the term shade room because I didn't want anyone going to look for shade room accounts because the content was so illegal. I will mention the name now because I'm confident that we've managed to get most, if not all of them, deleted. And where there are a few popping up, Meta, I can tell you, is complying with the court order and taking them down very quickly. There was a new shade room I alerted them to yesterday using this hotline that they've created for me, and it was down within 30 minutes. So that was very, very satisfactory.
Sure.
But these WhatsApp channels that were being created for the sole purpose of throwing shade on kids, humiliating them, degrading them, sending private sexual photos and videos of them in the context of them sort of being leaks, were garnering 20,000 followers within a matter of hours. They would circulate the most horrific content, and then if WhatsApp closed the channel or if the channel owner deleted the channel, they would just pop up with another channel, which is why we said to Meta and indeed to WhatsApp LLC, which is the company that runs WhatsApp, that unless you tell us who's behind these accounts, we're just going to be playing whack-a-mole for the rest of our lives, because we shut it down one place and they just pop up as, so where we shut down Shade Room 1, then they popped up as Shade Room 2. Where we shut down Shade Room Durban, they popped up as Shade Room Cape Town.
My goodness.
You know, it was just relentless. And the reality is that this content was being circulated to, I would say, 100,000 children in a matter of seconds because of this functionality of a WhatsApp channel. Now, the issue with the WhatsApp channel, Clement, is that you can't opt out of them. So when I first found out about this, and to be honest, I'm in this space, I should have known better, but I posted a video saying, please check which channels your children are following on WhatsApp. But the problem is, I can go explore on WhatsApp. I can put in some search term like horny girls, get 18,000 results of WhatsApp channels I can follow. And I can go and look at all of the content sent on that WhatsApp channel without electing to follow the channel, which means I'm not going to get alerts going forward, but all the content sent historically is still available to me.
Oh my goodness,
So that, for
Emma.
me, makes the platform of WhatsApp absolutely inappropriate for children of any age. At the moment, WhatsApp has an age restriction of 13. If they're going to provide a platform for mass dissemination, then they need to do a whole lot better in terms of making sure that that content that's being disseminated on the platform is suitable for children of 13 years old, which frankly it isn't.
Sure. Yeah. This is so scary. This is really scary. So the internal reporting tools that are provided by these platforms, you were not able, as you say, you tried to shut down this and then the other one pops up. So you couldn't fight this by using the internal reporting tools provided by this platform. So what has Meta agreed to do now, and what legal avenues does this open up for the victims?
Absolutely. Well, I do want to just pick up what you've said about the reporting tools, because most social media platforms, and I'm afraid we've all had the reason to report an account, right? Usually they ask you, okay, well, what kind of content are you reporting? What is the reason for your reporting? Are you reporting because it's hate speech or defamation or bullying? Or is it child sexual abuse? Is it human trafficking, which of course should be fast-tracked and elevated? With a WhatsApp channel, your only option is to say report. That's it. Now, I reported channels, and 4 days later, those channels were still available, and not just available, but incredibly active. 1,000 photos and videos of children being shared a day. So the reporting tool proved totally unhelpful and not fit for purpose. If you report a channel if you report an account on Instagram or Facebook, they do have that breakdown of reporting categories, which is far preferable to what the WhatsApp situation is. So now we've got this court order, Clement. So what happened is that we first got a court order late on Monday night last week, which said that that Meta had to delete various channels. At that stage, there were about 30 Instagram accounts and WhatsApp channels, and they had to ban the user who was creating this content, and they had to hand over identifying information. Meta made some progress in deleting some of the accounts, but certainly didn't hand over any identifying information or banning any users. And for that reason, late on Wednesday night, after hours, we brought a contempt of court application. And in that application, which is basically an order saying, you naughty boys, you haven't listened to the court order, you haven't complied with what you were supposed to do, so we're going to take steps. And what we wanted to do, well, we didn't want to do it, but it was the only way to get their attention, was to ask for the court to issue an order saying that one of the key employees of Meta Johannesburg would be imprisoned for 30 days or until they complied. And that got their attention. That meant suddenly the lawyers in London and in California and indeed in Johannesburg, we finally got attorneys and advocates to go on record, started jumping around. And we worked through the night on Thursday night to come up with an order in which they said they would hand over all the identifying information by Monday at midday, which they did. So we've now received the IP addresses, the email addresses, the phone numbers, and in some cases the device information of all of the accounts. By the time the court heard it on Friday, we'd actually identified 70 accounts. 58 of those were Instagram accounts, and 12 of those were WhatsApp channels. And they have deleted all of them, and they have provided that information. So that's with the forensic investigators at the moment. And as soon as we've got actual people, even if they are teenagers, it doesn't matter, they have capacity, then of course we will lay criminal charges and indeed explore civil remedies like suing for damages, getting interdicts, that kind of legal steps that we can take to try and make sure that the message is sent very loud and very clear to all South Africans. The law applies. Do not think you can be anonymous online, and certainly don't think you can target children, because we will find you.
Okay, so I want you to also at some point speak to parents and guardians that are listening to us, what they can do better to protect their children online and what they should do if they suspect their child has been affected. But before we get there, let's talk about this 2-year hotline, and that's been set up between the DLC and Meta. How does it actually work practically, and has it started already? How effective has it been so far?
It has started already, and I've made 3 reports, all of them with almost immediate results. So that's very satisfactory. So basically what they've offered is that there is a hotline just for my company, the digital law company, to submit reports that will be fast-tracked and that will, within 48 hours, receive some kind of a response in any issue that may arise for the next 2 years relating to issues in the court case. So obviously we're dealing with the shade room accounts, but for me it goes further than that. We're dealing with child dignity, child's rights to reputation, any kind of child pornography, what we should be calling CSAM, child sexual abuse material. So it should have fairly broad application. And I think that the main reason for them creating that channel, Clement, is because at the moment what Meta has is what they call a law enforcement takedown mechanism, which basically means if you're the victim of some terrible thing that's happened on one of the Meta platforms, you go to the police, you lay a criminal charge, and then the police, in theory, should be in contact with Meta using this sort of law enforcement hotline. Now, the reality is, if you go to the police in South Africa, and we did this, when these accounts first started popping up. My colleague Rourke went on a Saturday morning to the Rosebank police station and said, please help us. This is child pornography, child sexual abuse material, degrading, humiliating content. We need to open a case. And they said to us, we can't open a case unless you tell us who's behind it, which is just mad. I mean, it's like going to the police to report a murder and them saying, well, unless you tell us who committed the murder, we're not going to open the case. Because that is your whole damn job, police, is to find out who is behind it. But the reality is that our law is there. The Cyber Crimes Act is there. We've got laws around human trafficking. We've got rules around cyber crimes. We've got rules around non-consensual distribution of private sexual images and videos. But what we don't have is the policing capability. So where it should work, that they have this hotline to Meta, in South Africa that doesn't work. And so they've created a sort of a similar kind of a mechanism for me, for my work that I do for children. So
do you think there's law that can be applied to the individuals who are setting up these accounts?
Absolutely. So firstly, we're dealing with all sorts of child pornography offenses. So what these people were doing was they're creating Instagram accounts and then soliciting content, basically saying to people out there, if you've got any nudes, if you've got any videos of anybody, send them to us, and then we'll publish them. We'll keep you anonymous, but we'll publish them. But we're not going to publish them unless you tell us the name of the person, what school they go to, what grade they go to, and what their social media handles are. So they weren't just sharing random nudes of teenage girls. They were saying, this is this girl at this school, and she has an STI, and this person, and she's got a body count higher than her age, and, right? So they were soliciting child pornography. So that's the first offense. The second would be distribution of child pornography. The third would be criminuria, that these kids have suffered a severe impairment to their dignity, which constitutes the criminal offense of criminuria. In some cases, there was doxing, so sharing personal information with the intention of causing the kids harm. There was often extortion. Then there were criminal offenses of non-consensual distribution of private sexual images under the Cyber Crimes Act and under the Films and Publications Amendment Act. That comes with a 300,000 Rand fine and 4 years in prison. And I'm fairly confident, Clement, that the creators of these accounts are teenagers themselves. We need to bear in mind that children have full criminal capacity. That means the legal ability to be held legally responsible for their criminal acts from 14 years old. Even arguably 12 and 13-year-olds can be arrested for those acts. And civil capacity, at what age you can be sued for defamation or for damages because of the harm that you've caused, that's actually 7 years old in South Africa. So as soon as we've got the people, which I'm hoping we're hours away from because the forensic guys are working on it, then the real work begins, and we'll kick into action to try and make sure that we really make an example in this case that will the message will filter down to all South African teenagers that this is not okay, and if you're going to play in this realm, you're going to go to jail. Yeah.
So Emma, please speak to some parents listening to us now and guardians who are just as scared, just listening to you tell the story, just more scared than I probably am. Because normally parents also don't check what their children are up to on their phones, right? What channels are they following? What messages are they getting? What are they involved in? So what advice and tips do you have for parents and guardians to better protect their children?
Yeah, we know from my decade-long experience in this field, Clement, that's the most powerful line of defense against all of the online harms are active, involved, engaged, aware parents. I know we're busy. I know we all work full time, and then our children, we come home and we're exhausted. You've got to take the time to speak to your children, to know what they're seeing, know what they're up to. The most important, there are two things I really want to focus on. The one is, I'm always asked, at what age should children be given smartphones? Well, when you feel comfortable that your child is ready to see pornography, that's the age at which they can get smartphones. Certainly, smartphones should be banned for children under the age of 13 in South Africa. They should be banned in primary schools. To understand that WhatsApp is a very dangerous platform. So often parents say, oh, here's a phone, you can't be on Snapchat or TikTok because they're dangerous and not suitable for young children, but you can be on WhatsApp so you can tell me what time school finishes and to be on your class WhatsApp group with your friends. What we've established here is that WhatsApp is actually, I'd say, more dangerous with less controls than just about any of the other platforms combined.
Okay.
The second thing I really want to emphasize is how important it is to not let your children have their phones with them in their bedrooms at nighttime. I lived and breathed these channels for a week, Clement, and I was having to stay awake all night to watch these accounts because they would say things like big drop coming at midnight, big drop coming at 2 a.m. And those children, theoretically, last week should have been either in exams or like they shouldn't have been online all night. So really making sure there are no devices in the bedroom. Your children will tell you they need an alarm clock. You go and get them an old school alarm clock. I promise you're doing your child the biggest favor. They're not sleeping if they've got their phones, and they're up to no good. No good happens with a tween or a teen on their phone and on the internet in the middle of the night.
At midnight.
So that's absolutely critical. And then, it really has been my professional life's work to educate as far as possible. So I go out and I speak. You actually catch me on the road at the moment. I'm driving down to KZN, to the Midlands, to speak at various schools. Education is critical. And I've just written a new book. It's called How Not to Mess Up Online, which is a teenager's guide. It's very, very like the K53 to owning a smartphone. Before you're allowed to drive a car, which is a dangerous thing, you need to know the rules and the laws of the road. And I think that, if I was the boss of the world, I would almost make it that children had to get a license to own a smartphone. They need to know that they are legally responsible. There are laws. There are serious consequences to your reputation, etc. And long-term career prospects. We've got a situation now, Clement, that social media has been around for long enough that we see even young adults being fired from their jobs when content emerges of something they posted when they're 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Now, you and I can debate whether or not that's correct, morally correct, but the reality is that it's happening.
Absolutely.
So parents, know what your children are up to, educate them, keep them away from the dodgy platforms, and when your child comes to you to say, Mummy, I've seen this thing, or Daddy, I can't sleep because somebody showed me this terrible thing on the school bus, don't freak out and take the phone away, because it just means the next time it happens, they're not going to tell you.
They're not going to be honest.
Really trying to have open conversations with children.
Lastly, I've got 2 seconds left here. Hi, there's a message from Marlene who says, hi, Clement. Emma, first of all, thank you for all that you do to protect our children. Here's a question. What legal rights do I have as a high school parent if my school won't introduce any cell phone policies, and as a result, every pupil in the school needs to have a smartphone?
Yeah, well, I am on an absolute mission to get bell-to-bell bans going at high schools in South Africa. Smartphones should be banned totally in primary schools. And in high school, I think the evidence is just so clear that phones should not be in the classroom, that EdTech actually, I think so much of so many of the issues we're dealing with now was because of COVID, and these kids were forced onto these EdTech platforms that they just weren't ready for. If the kids are using EdTech at school, it should be kept at school. They shouldn't come home. And I do appreciate there's a long way to go on that. And I will hold a webinar in the next few weeks about EdTech in schools and the crisis that parents find themselves in, because it's all very well having the rules at home, but then your school saying to your grade 4 kid, oh, they've got to have a tablet, they've got to have a phone, they've got to have a Chromebook, which might be locked down at school, but it means when they come home, there are no rules. Absolutely.
Yeah, Emma, when you do that webinar, please tell us about it so we can also alert some parents. I've got some of them sending us messages here about how that there are some of their children. Someone says, my daughter is 14 and we recently discovered that she was a victim of this by sending her pics to a boy that they met on Instagram, and she didn't know what she was doing at the time. My goodness, so scary. Emma Sedlier, thank you for making time for us, and thank you for the wonderful work that you do. She's the founder of the Digital Law Company.